Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat.
ESBR Boxing in association with sharpbetting.co.uk. Elliot and Paul, we are back. That means only one thing and one thing only. We're in preview mode, and we've actually got a great fight here, to be honest with you. Like, to really to sort of break down with you. Before I get into that, like and subscribe to the channel. Obviously, let us know in the comments and engagements what you sort of think about any of the content that'll help us inform us going forward. But Paul, as I mentioned, we've got a great fight here. We're in at WBC World Middleweight action. Carlos Adames, Hamzah Sheeraz, one of those super fights that's taking place in Saudi. Hamzah Sheeraz is a real kind of shining light, isn't he, in British boxing at the moment? One of the sort of probably one of the premier, if not the premier prospects / guys on the fringe of the world title that we actually have in the country at the moment. So excited for this one. Question I want to ask you though: there's three names really kicking around the middleweight division for us. I suppose you've got Carlos Adames, you've got Hamzah Sheeraz, you've got Zanabek. With those sort of names up in the middleweight, we go. Who's the best? Who's the best? In your mind, is the winner of this fight the best middleweight in the world, Paul? Yes or no?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. It's an intriguing one. It's one of them where, we're sitting talking, if you think Hamza Sheeraz is going to win this, would we be sitting here saying right now that Hamza Sheeraz is the best middleweight in the world and he's never even fought for a world title, never even won one? He might be the case, mate. He could well be. I think for now, just based off body of work, albeit I think he maybe the level of opposition hasn't been great, but then I don't think that's his fault. I think you still have to have Janabek as your number one. I think the winner of this goes at number two for sure for me. And then yeah, hopefully all roads lead to the winner of this fighting Janabek. I mean, I did mention with Thomas in our final predictions video for this fight. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't see Sheeraz against Janabek at 160 because both look like they could move up to 168 in the future. So like, if Sheeraz is to win this and that fight doesn't happen, not needless to say, it could happen up at the super middle in the future. But yeah, I think to answer your question, mate, is the winner of this the best middleweight in the world? I will for now say no. I think that mantle is held by Janabek. But if either or Adames or Sheeraz puts in an emphatic display, absolutely batters their opponent, does it in style, and I don't know, gets on the mic and calls everyone every name under the sun, whatever, then yeah, they're straight in at number one. But for now, it's Janabek still for me, mate.
We don't often disagree on the channel, but there might be a bit of disagreement here because I'm actually going to say that I think yes. I think the winner of this fight for me goes number one. And the reason I agree with you right now, you've got to have Zanderbeck number one. You have to have Zanderbeck number one, obviously champion for long. We can't sit here and say Sheeraz, despite how as good and as brilliant as he's been, is number one in the division. But like you say, you look at, I'm pick up on the point you mentioned. I totally agree with you. Zanderbeck's record, his CV, isn't the best, and it isn't seemingly getting any better. So I feel like whoever one of these guys to prevail would almost be the best victory across all three CVs. Like if Adames beats Sheeraz, that's the best win on all three. I think at the moment I'll probably have his win over Derevchenko as probably being the best one, probably across all three. To be honest with you, I mean the Ammo Williams one's a great win, obviously as well. But yeah, I feel like the winner of this one will go to number one in my mind. I feel like obviously that could be undone again if they fight Zanabek, but for me it seems like Zanabek just needs to sort of up his level somehow. Like fight someone with a bit more marquee name, just get a sort of proper defense in, because at the moment the sort of fights that he's having aren't what you'd necessarily call world level of opposition. So not his fault, but I think like he needs. I do feel like he's in danger of slipping to two to the winner of this fight. But sticking with Sheeraz, Paul, a big man, obviously in middleweight. He's a big guy. He's 6'3". Doesn't seem to not as sort of emaciated seemingly as someone like Fandora, but has got a frame that could really sort of pad out. And I want to ask you really how far you think he could go. Obviously, you've got Canelo up at super middle. How long he's going to go? Obviously, Crawford could be the king at super middle at some point. We don't know. And then you look above that, and you've got obviously light heavy. You've got the guys like I suppose Beterbiev, and then obviously might be finished by the time he maybe goes up there. But like the British interest, you've got that's Callum Smith, Yard, Watsy, those sort of names up there. Do you think that Hamzah Sheeraz can pick up titles at super middle and light heavy? Paul, how high do you reckon he can go?
Accept this video for future. Hamza Sheeraz is the real deal. He's winning a world title at middleweight. He's winning a world title at super middleweight, and he's winning a world title at light heavyweight.
Is he going cruiser, Paul? Is he going cruiser?
Oh, I mean, the jump from 175 up to 200. I mean, I suppose Alberto Ramirez did it, didn't he? And some he was at 168. No, I'm not backing him to win the cruiserweight world title, unfortunately. But in saying that, he's only 25, isn't he?
Yeah.
If he was to go up to cruiserweight, I mean, he's got the height for it, but he would need to put on some serious mass. I think he'd maybe need to stay away from a boxing ring for a year and just hit the gym and the creatine. And to be honest, but yeah, I'm gonna go Hamza Sheeraz I suppose, well, I might have already given my prediction there away a little bit, but I think Hamza Sheeraz could could become world champion at middleweight, if not in this fight, maybe in another fight. And yeah, I just see him, and it's an inevitable, sorry, easy for me to say, move up to 168 before then, in my eyes, in the future as well, a few years down the line, even by the time he's maybe late 20s, 30, he'll be a light heavyweight and could win a world title there as well. So yeah, I'm high on the Hamza Sheeraz train, mate. What about yourself?
Yeah, you know, I like to say that was beautifully said. The true professional. They said, like, if you know, if not this fight, then another fight. So he hasn't given his prediction away yet. We'll come to that in a second. But I actually, you know, sometimes Paul gets away with himself. Sometimes I have to try and bring him in check. But I'm fully on Paul here. I'm fully on board with you, to be honest with you. I think Hamza Sheeraz, yep, super middleweight, absolutely. I feel like, to be honest with you, it's kind of how long will he stay at middleweight really after he wins this? Maybe he fights Sandor Beck, then sort of go straight up. And I also agree with you at light heavy. He's got the frame for light heavy. Be interesting to see how the power carries. I think the power would definitely carry up at super middle. I'd imagine also he'd still have a sort of lively punch even up at light heavy as well. So if he gets like, you know, we've talked about some of our other guys that we sort of favour, you know, Benavidez, Pacheco, like those sort of names. But if he gets a kind of favourable draw up at sort of light heavy as well, I think he could definitely win a world title there. So I totally agree with you. I think both of those belts are within reach. And I think he's a real deal as well. And I'm not giving away my prediction, but I'm going to come to you, Paul, for your prediction for this fight. Obviously, we're talking, you know, Damas is highly ranked in the division, obviously, as well. Hamza Sheeraz highly ranked. This really is a kind of the top end of the division sort of squaring off here. So how do you see this fight going, Paul? Who wins it and how, please?
I think Carlos Adames is getting overlooked by the boxing public. I think he's a very big puncher himself. I think he could have his moments. Do you know what? I'll even go as far as saying, do not be surprised if Hamza Sheeraz gets put on the deck early on here. I think Hamza Sheeraz will win this though, and will win it via stoppage. Just into the second half of the fight, is where my head's at now. I'm going around 6, 7, 8 for a Hamza Sheeraz stoppage, becoming the new WBC World Middleweight title holder. But it won't be easy. I do think Adames is a live dog. He's a credible world champion. He's a big puncher. And yeah, Hamza Sheeraz will have to bring his A game to beat him for sure.
Yeah, you know what? We hadn't actually spoke about this fight beforehand, but I actually don't think I can add anything to that. It was actually exactly how I was thinking, eerily so, actually. I think, like, you sit there and look at Adames, and we're almost sort of saying, like, you know, like Hamza Sheeraz is a champion in waiting, which is kind of horrible complacency from the sort of British media, of which I am a part. But equally, I still expect Sheeraz to win. I do expect it to be a stoppage, but I actually was going to say what you would say. I do expect him maybe to go over as well in this fight. I do expect him to sort of be hanging on for a period. To be perfectly honest with you, I would not be surprised to see him go down. I would not be surprised to see it very, very tight on the scorecards when it does end. And I'm actually going to say, agree with you as well. I thought somewhere into the second half of the fight, sort of 6-9 again as well. So we are aligned on the preview show for this one. Yeah, which is good to know. But guys, let us know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with that final prediction. Also, I suppose, how you see Sheeraz as a middleweight, and also how you see him, you know, moving up possibly to super middle and to light heavy. Let us know. Like and subscribe to the channel, as already mentioned. Paul, thank you very much for joining me. Guys, as always, thank you very much for watching.
Cheers, mate. All the best.